I hope everyone is doing well. I am Brian Knight, not Bobby Durkins. I know that is shocking. Not Bobby Durkins. I'm Brian Knight. Thank you for joining me on this reaction to the very first 2022 college football playoff poll. If you're joining me, I actually had another live stream going, and then my computer crashed. That's kind of weird. Or no, it was actually the browser I was using crashed. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. So I'm just going to start over and go from there. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Pass this along to anyone who likes to just talk college football or Clemson football. So I do appreciate it. So I'm going to make three key statements to start off this reaction video to the college football playoff. And I know this is going to be shocking, the first three things that I'm going to say, because it's going to take away a lot of useless comments. And I know people love to complain about everything. There's Karen. You've heard the term Karens. I really don't know what you would call a guy, but we could just call them a Karen, a male Karen. I don't know. But this is for the pessimistic know-it-alls who come in and they try to be smarter than everyone and point out the obvious. So I'm going to take this away so we can actually have some good dialogue here. First statement is, I know without a shadow of a doubt that the very last poll is the only poll that counts. The next statement I'm going to make: the very last poll is the only poll that counts. I get that. And shockingly, number three is, I know without a shadow of a doubt, and I hope you're ready for this, that the only poll that matters is the very last one. So I know some of those really smart people out there who likes to act like they're just geniuses and like no one's ever thought of this. I know that I just took away like almost everything from you. I know that you just clicked out of the video because that took your smart moment away from you. And the reason I'm so aggressive there is because obviously it's the very last poll. These types of polls let us catch a glimpse into how the committee is actually thinking, what they are considering, and yeah, and it also tells teams who's being respected, whose schedule's not being respected, whose conference is not being respected. So I think that this poll, even though it's an introductory poll, that I really think that they actually did a good job on this one. So for all of you who hasn't seen the poll, I'll give you the week one college football playoff rankings as of November the 1st. So at number one seed, Tennessee. Totally agree with that. Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4. On the outside looking in, Michigan at 8-0. They're really upset about that. You'll get your chance to play Ohio State in a couple of weeks. Just don't lose and win that game, and you can replace Ohio State. But I think that a lot of people really don't believe that Michigan will beat Ohio State this year. That's why they play the game on the field and not on paper. But then again, until last year, we saw the dominance Ohio State's had over Michigan, and we'll go from there. TCU really felt snubbed. They're 8-0. Alabama, they're on the outside looking in at 6, but we know without a shadow of a doubt that unless the wheels come off for these guys, they're going to play in the SEC championship, and that's a game they thrive in no matter who they're playing. And they've played some great talent, and in a lot of cases demolished them. So with that said, let's dive into these four teams a little more. As I said, I really agree with Tennessee being number one at this point. They have a big test with really the last big test they have until, barring something crazy happens. If they win out, and they should after the Georgia game, this Georgia game is big. And here's just my thoughts on it, and I'll just boil it down. If Tennessee wins or loses a very close game here, there's still a great chance of them getting. Obviously, if they win, they'll go to the SEC championship, and they'll play for the East. And of course, if they beat Bama, they're in. If they go and they barely lose to Bama, according to how the Georgia game goes or how Georgia plays out for the rest of the season, is there's a great chance that Tennessee would probably make the college football playoff. That would be very, very interesting. I know there's a lot of ifs, but hey, this is just sports talk. We talk sports. We talk ifs. We talk about the possibilities. So this game with Georgia has a lot riding on it, because after they play Georgia, let's just say they beat Georgia, they have Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, I think left. I think that's their last 3 games right off the top of my head. And they have beat some pretty solid and some good teams this season. They throttled LSU, obviously beat Alabama in a thriller. They got over the mental hurdle and beat Florida. So Tennessee deserves to be number 1. It's after Tennessee that things get a little muggy. Now, if you talk to a Georgia fan, they're going to say, hey, we're the defending national champions. We have our starting quarterback back, and we haven't lost a game. Georgia, except for throttling Oregon, who, by the way, is number 8. I know they're 7-1, but you talk about a team that just, I can't get. It's like walking in and seeing an old woman in the bathtub. You can't get that crap out of your head. I can't get out of my head watching Georgia actually have to call the dogs off, pun intended, not to score 70 or 80 points on Oregon. Oregon looked absolutely useless. And I know teams grow in this and blah, 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 but I'm sorry. Oregon, we've seen this. We've heard this song and seen this dance many times with a Pac-10 school, and it never goes well. Pac-10, Pac-12, who cares? It's all falling apart anyway. I just don't see anything good here. I don't even know why they're in the top 10. Move them back somewhere around 14 or 13. Get them to win out their season, get them to win the college football playoff, and blah blah blah. We might consider them for a New Year's Day bowl, but at the end of the day, nobody can unsee that. Georgia, that's really their only quality win this season. They beat the crap out of a Florida team that is just they look like Florida. They recruit like Florida, but they're not Florida. And so it's good that they can go in and win that game and win the rivalry and not let their emotions get a hold of them. But exactly how good is Florida? Florida, when they played Tennessee earlier on in the season, still had something to play for. By the time Florida got to Georgia, they knew that everything was done. There was nothing to talk about. There was nothing to play. And so anyway, that's really eyebrow raising to me. So a lot of people in Georgia probably feels like they should be at number 1. And then some people I've encountered said, "Hey, let us lay back. We'll go beat the crap out of Tennessee, and trust me, we'll bolt up there to number 1." The last I seen, the line was somewhere around 10 points in favor of the Bulldogs. The game's going to be in Athens. I think it's 3:30 on CBS on Saturday. So that's going to be an interesting game. Ohio State is a team that has a lot of talent. I don't want to say they have a lot of hype, but they have a lot of hype. And it's kind of interesting to look at their schedule, because it's very much underwhelming. It's very much underwhelming. They start off the season with a 21-10 win over Notre Dame. Notre Dame did lose their quarterback after that, and then began to fall apart. But they did win that game. It was an emotional game. And when I say emotional, I mean there was a lot of hype around it. It was one of the most expensive tickets in college football this year. And to me, I think that if Notre Dame ever went into a conference, the Big Ten makes sense for them to go there. Arkansas State, they beat the crap out of them, beat Toledo. They throttled Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not that good anyway. They decimated Rutgers. They embarrassed Michigan State. They embarrassed Iowa. And then they came away with a 13-point win over Penn State this past weekend. So out of respect to Ohio State, they have won every game. They've had a lot of games that they have just dominated. But when you look at the teams that they're playing and you look at their records, it's really not that good. For all you Ohio State Buckeye fans who are pulling up Clemson's schedule right now, trust me, I'll get to that, because even though I'm a Clemson fan, I'm going to tell the truth about it. But the point here is that the reason Ohio State is not number one is because they do not have the quality wins that Tennessee has. They could point fingers at Georgia and say, well, Georgia this, Georgia that. Georgia has lost a lot. They did lose a lot of talent in the offseason to the NFL draft, and they do have the quarterback back. But I think right now we're seeing another story that really the season is going to have to play out for Ohio State to see if this is another season where they go and win 10 wins, 11 wins, they get into the college football playoff and they get beat, and it's just easy. So we'll see there. But I think that's why you don't see them at number one. And their conference is really down this year. Normally Wisconsin comes out and plays better ball. And it is just up to this point, it is just really nothing. Penn State, I haven't been impressed with Penn State all season. Penn State is always in the same predicament every year. It's like the same storyline. Oh, man, they're going to be good and blah, 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 blah. This is great to sell subscriptions and sell magazines and online subscriptions and so on. But people like myself who just wants to talk about the truth is Penn State is a top 20 team, and that's it. And until they prove otherwise, that's where they're at, and that's where they're going to continue to be at. I really don't buy into their coaching staff as well. So, and if anybody says, why don't you? And I say, go look at their record. They haven't done bad. I just never see that coaching staff getting to the national championship and winning it. So next up for Ohio State, Northwestern, Indiana. Both teams are terrible. Then play Maryland, not so good. And then, of course, right after Thanksgiving, they're going to play they're going to play Michigan. So that's really the game that's going to decide the fate of Michigan and Ohio State. We know this. That's a duh statement. Let's get to Clemson football. And, of course, me being a Clemson fan, I love my Tigers. I want to see my Tigers win a national championship every year. I want to believe that Dabo Swinney is going to fix everything, and that with Swinney, he's never going to listen. Swinney has done more for Clemson than anybody has done for Clemson. Swinney is the man. He took over a very bad situation when he took over just being a wide receivers coach, and the guy went out and did amazing things, and still a letdown of a season last year was a 10-win season for Clemson. So that's the bar that he has set. So I believe in Swinney. I believe in Wes Goodwin. I really believe that we've seen him in the second half make changes, make adjustments, which is a key to being a successful coach. Streeter's worked with what he's had to work with. He's did much better than what I thought that he would do. This past up until this past game with DJ and Syracuse, DJ had played just every game, just got better and better and better. And then, of course, he went out. He had a really terrible game against Syracuse. Clemson does come away with the win. But let's talk about Clemson. That's why a lot of you are here. What do we have to look at Clemson? Why do we need to look at them and at the end of the day come away with? Well, what we need to come away with is that lackluster games are going to happen. Lackluster games are going to happen. You're not going to win every game by 50 points. You're not going to win every game by 30 or 40 points. And let's just be honest here. When Trevor Lawrence and ETN was there and T. Higgins was there, Clemson would go out and win by 30 or 40 points. And then they got into it was after that big win against Alabama where they shellacked Alabama in the national championship. In Trevor's sophomore and junior season, they went on to the college football playoffs, and they just didn't get beat. They got hammered. So going out onto the field and winning by 30 or 40 points always feels good as a fan. It feels great to where you can say, man, we look dominant. But we knew something was up with Clemson's offense. We knew something was up with the play calling. We knew something was up. And everybody told me how stupid and ridiculous I was for saying that until we played LSU. And everybody goes, well, that was a once-in-a-lifetime LSU team. Yeah, but remember, we were winning 17-7. So, and then, as Elliott said, he forsook the run. He forsook the run, with only one of the best players to ever play college football at running back. The best running back to ever play at Clemson. He forgot that he was there, or he got away from it. And then the very next year, they played a good Ohio State team with Justin Fields, and they had Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon had an incredible game. But the point here is that was not an incredible Ohio State team. They were good. They were really good, but they were not incredible. And the talent that Clemson had on both sides of the ball, that they got the crap beat out of them that bad. So it's like, okay, well, what does all that have to do with right now? Just because we're winning close ball games or we've had a couple of close ball games, especially with Wake Forest and then Syracuse. You have to understand, this is the Super Bowl for these guys. This is the Super Bowl for these teams. Dino Babers always wants to do really well against anybody, but especially Clemson, because Clemson is the top dog. They've owned the ACC now for quite a while. And so you're always going to have a target on your back. On the other side, let's just take off our orange-colored glasses and tell the truth here. If Clemson wants to end that, and I know I've already seen it all over social media, we're in November, it's championship mode. And that's great, man. It gets people fired up, wanting to go punch a wall and fight their neighbor and whatever. And it's fun and stuff. But Clemson better be in championship mode. They're going up to Notre Dame, and last I saw, Notre Dame was only an underdog by 3 or 4 points. And I'm even going to check it while I'm live here. I mean, I thought that Clemson would beat Syracuse by 10 or 12 points, and they didn't. They came in, they played around. They're fortunate to get out of that game with a win, and a win is a win is a win, but you have to learn from a win. You have to step back and say, hold on 1 second. What did we do to play so close with a team that, just lost to the team that we're about to play? And Notre Dame has really struggled this season. And by the way, Clemson is a 3.5-point favorite. That game's going to be on NBC 7:30 Saturday night. I'll definitely be watching. I wanted to make it up there, but I just couldn't. But the point here is that Clemson cannot come in and play Notre Dame the way they played Syracuse. It's out of the question. Now, is that because I think that Notre Dame is some great football team? No. But even though Notre Dame is Notre Dame, and it's still in South Bend. It's still in South Bend. Notre Dame is not. When I say Notre Dame is Notre Dame, what I mean by that is they're 5-3 right now. They lost to Stanford. They lost to Marshall. That loss against Ohio State, had they came out and won up to this point and beat Marshall and beat Stanford, going into this game, we'd say, okay, all right, they lost to, at least they didn't pull an Oregon and get their head ripped off like Oregon did with Georgia. They lost by 11 points. You go back and you watch that game. Notre Dame was in it till the very end. And I know there was injuries. I know their starting quarterback, Notre Dame was starting quarterback was injured. But this Pine guy he's starting to roll. I'm looking at his stats right now: 165 passes, 102 completions, almost 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The guy's getting more comfortable, folks. You need to get that. He's getting more comfortable. Notre Dame does have Michael Mayer, arguably one of the best, if not the best tight end. Now, Georgia believes Bowers is the best tight end in the country. Don't blame them. But it would be between Mayer and Bowers, who would actually be the top tight end in the country. And so Clemson cannot go out into this game and turn over the ball and expect to come back. So I hope they're entering championship phase, and part of that is not turning the ball over and putting their foot on the pedal and stomping it to the floor and saying, look, we're going to make the decision to put us in the college football playoff very, very easy. We're going to make it very easy on them. We're going to make it one of those situations where they don't even have to think. I think for Tennessee to be number one, they didn't even have to think about that. That's how dominant Tennessee has played. And I think for Clemson, that's the same thing that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to make it a duh decision, as I like to call it. It's like, duh, of course you did that. I'm showing my age that I'm from the, I was born in the 80s, but raised during the 90s. That is a duh statement that Clemson goes in. That's where Clemson, they have to win this game against Notre Dame. First of all, I'll take a win versus nothing. Okay? But the point is we need Clemson to win this ball game in a good, solid fashion. Because I want to take you back to the year we won the national championship for the first time since '81. It was with Deshaun Watson. And Clemson lost to Pittsburgh, and it was like, okay, there goes the playoff chances. It's over. And for anyone who would go back to that time, you might feel like it's kind of silly. No, they gave up over 500 yards to Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh, one of the most lackluster football teams ever. It was a nasty, messy game. They did not look like champions that year. They should have lost to NC State. They should have lost to Troy at home. That season lives in some type of fantasy world. But the truth is that year, Clemson did not play great football. And you're right, Parker. The shuffle pass killed us that entire game. I mean, it was kind of like watching that Syracuse game this past couple of weeks ago when Schrader was pulling the ball, and I just found myself screaming at the TV, he's going to pull it. He's going to pull the ball. He's rarely handing it off, and I know everybody's like, well, that's what they're playing against. If he does hand it off, he's not, because when he's pulling the ball, he's running for chunks of yards. You have to stop that. Stop what is instead of worrying about what might be. I mean, it's just crazy. But Clemson has to win this game. And first of all, they need to win the game. But if they're really entering championship mode, it's time to clean up things. Clean up the turnovers. I'd like to see the defense play strong in the beginning as well. They've been playing strong in the second half, and of course they've had some good moments. And look, once again, the argument would be, well, at least they made the adjustment. Yes, that's exactly what we want. But we do know that when you're playing a team like Tennessee or Georgia or Ohio State or Bama. I know that Bama, let me tell you this, Bama will be in the hunt, my friend. They will be. Bama has went nowhere until the fat lady sings, and you better make sure she's really singing nice and loud, because they'll find themselves in there and find themselves holding a trophy at the end of the season. Everybody's like, hey, what happened? Yeah. So Saban's been in this rodeo many times, and he knows what he's doing. But as I'm kind of, and I'm going to close this down here, Clemson really needs to make sure that they are winning games decisively. They are winning games and improving every game like they were up to the Syracuse game. And I've talked about on another video, shameless plug. Go check it out, where I talked about there was obviously bad things that happened in the Syracuse game, but there were some really good things that happened in the Syracuse game. And what they need to do, winning out, they have to continue to grow, and that's what they did up to that point, was they were growing. So this game with Notre Dame is going to be absolutely massive, and that's what we have to do. And I'm starting to see some comments come in here from some Notre Dame fans. By the way, I'll say hello to everybody as I'm closing out here. Parker Henderson, my old buddy from there in the Atlanta area. Good to see you, pal. Got Tiger Red Devil in here. Hey, I'm fine with number 4. The goal is to just be in it. But we'll definitely see Notre Dame 21-64. I'm glad you're in here, buddy. It is going to be a good game. I wish I could have made it up there. Think it will be a good game. Clemson loads the box and brackets Mayer. They will win. That, don't be surprised if that's exactly what they do. Getting into championship phase means getting Bo the ball. He's too talented to go 2 games without a catch. Got to be creative with him and make sure he gets his chances in different ways. Brent Niven, I do agree with you 100% on that. And let's look at it this way, Brent, is that this past go around, this past game, we saw Ngata step up, and that's what you want to do. What you want to do is, if a guy like Collins is drawing a lot of attention to himself, and they're respecting him, somebody has to step up. But when people step up, guess what happens? Somebody is left open. So now, coming off of that game, Notre Dame knows darn well that they'll go to Ngata. They know it. They know they'll go after him, and they'll throw the ball to him. And, of course, we have 2 incredible tight ends ourselves. Spector has been playing very well. We cannot forget about the home run threat, Antonio Williams. The point here is that Bo Collins not getting the ball can be a good thing if it's a thing that his supporting cast, and I hate to say supporting cast, but his other players are stepping up and taking his catches that he would have had because they're focused on him. Now, do we want to get him the ball and keep him a threat? Obviously, yes. I mean, you always want to throw the ball up to a guy like him because he'll go up and get it. But the upside to that backside, I didn't say downside. The upside of that is when we have players stepping up, and this is, they want to talk about championship mode in November, and trust me, I follow Clemson about as close as you can get, other than being on some inside media team, and even there I get some things from some of these guys. I know the mantra for November: live it. Every player has to step up. Everybody who's upset about whatever has to let it go. Every player who wished they'd ran the ball or caught the ball or been on the field more this season, they got to get over it. Their moment may come. And, if a person spends the majority of their time moaning and groaning, or maybe they're like, the ball hasn't been thrown to me this entire season or nearly as much as I wanted. Who knows when that ball is going to be thrown to them, and because they have not been preparing like they should, or because they haven't been hungry like they should, that spectacular season-changing, almost in lore catch that they would have that would put them up there with the Hunter Renfrows or the Jordan Leggett, where he reached backwards and caught the ball, or those great passes we saw Justin Ross catch against Notre Dame in that first round when we went in and beat Alabama 44-16. I mean, that season is what I'm talking about, and playoff. What happens if that turns into a drop because someone has mentally checked out all season, and now the ball is presented to them, their moment is presented to them, but because they've been sulking like a 3-year-old, they drop it. And I'm telling you, folks, it happens all the time. And so it'll be interesting. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this. I'm going to end this stream. I think I might go ahead and do my Notre Dame preview leading up to this game here in just a few. If you're brand new here, thank you so much for joining me. Hit the subscribe button. Here's my big thing. It's free. It's not like I'm charging you anything. Subscribe button, and if you say, well, just hit the subscribe button. And if you need to log into or just create just a dummy Google account just to follow your favorite sports pages, do that, because there's other people there who are fantastic. Mark Rogers is fantastic. Pigskin Pete, a friend of mine, is fantastic. And there's a lot of people you don't even like their teams, and they might even annoy you, but they're fun to watch. So we will see. A quick question before I go, Greg Larkin, do you think DJ can be fixed again? I can't say that he broke the other day. We will see at Notre Dame, but I think the hope that we do have is that first, that he has been fixed before for much worse. And so I can't say that he's broken. If for some reason we need to pull him, unfortunately, and I hope we don't, we need that experience on the field. We need that experience. We need that leadership. He has more plays under his belt than anybody on the team. And I know you're pulling for him. I don't think that we do have someone who's more than capable to come in and take his place, and to come in and put wrinkles in the playbook that is interesting. So, and that's right, Parker. Even Trevor had a bad game. A&M, and let's be honest, the game he got knocked out against Syracuse, where Chase Bryce had to come in, it was earlier sometime in the first quarter, but up to that point, Trevor didn't look so good. Go back and watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about. He did not look that great. You were not sitting there going, oh, no, we had so much productivity. No, we really didn't. And so, take that with a grain of salt. Well, listen, I'm going to log off of here and let this upload, get some more water, clear my throat, and then come back and talk about this Notre Dame game. Notre Dame friends and family, lovers and haters, be looking for that video, pass along to your Notre Dame community. If you're a Clemson fan here and you're part of some of these large Facebook groups or whatever, you post some of these videos in there, because I'm telling you, I really think that the content that I'm producing right now is really giving a good inside look and really non-biased in a lot of ways. Of course, I'm going to be some bias because I'm a Clemson fan, but I don't mind telling the truth, not for shock factor, because the only way you're going to fix anything is if you actually talk about what's actually going on. That's the point here. The only way anybody can fix anything, no matter whether it's in sports or whatever, you first have to face the truth. You have to look it in the face, and no matter how ugly or pretty or mediocre or lackluster it is, that's the only way you fix problems. And being a hopeless romantic when it comes to your team is very, very dangerous. And so you can always look at the Gamecocks and realize what their hopeless romantic approach has really yielded them. And it's a lot of letdown. And fortunately, Clemson hasn't had that. So, look, y'all be good. Thank you, Notre Dame 2164. Share it in some Notre Dame forums. I'd love for them to come here and just tell me how stupid I am. But I'll take the subscribers and the views. But no, it's good to always have different people in here and having a good time. Y'all take care. I'm Brian Knight. I'm not Bobby Durkins, but Bobby's going to be around very soon. Take care.